Well, hello everyone. Once again, welcome to Holy Shift. I am your host, Stephanie Gray. I am a creative transformation guide, an artist, and an intuitive. And I love talking about the shift in consciousness that I believe and feel is happening on the planet right now. And sometimes I bring my friends on, my good friends, and this today is no exception. We have here with us Jenny Hahn. She is my co-conspirator at Creative Nectar Studio. We've known each other for decades and have been creating together for decades. But Jenny Hahn is a visual artist and an author of an award-winning book, Creative Flow. She's a workshop facilitator and so much more. I'm going to make sure her links are down in down below in the description so that you guys can visit her sites because she is just an exceptional artist and human being.
Mhm.
So Jenny, thank you and welcome. I am so glad that you're here.
Thanks,
Um,
Steph. It's so good to be here. And we've had our podcast. We've done so much together, but to be here in a different context, I'm so
yeah.
honored.
Yes. And yeah, this is, I mean, we're both of us are not new to the podcast situation. We have had Creative Nectar podcast. So please check that out and I'll put that link too. I think it might already be linked, but so the first thing I do, Jenny, when I do these little chats and conversations is I ask the person I'm with if they believe there is in fact a shift happening on the planet. So I am curious, do you believe or do you feel that there is a shift happening on the planet right now?
Abso-freaking-lutely. I don't know how somebody could be alive in this world today and not feel the shift happening. I guess the question would be whether like how you're perceiving that shift to be going.
Mm,
But I think that without a doubt, there is a shift happening, and we are starting to wake up. Systems are starting to crumble. And what is feeling very much like a regression, to me anyway, right now, a breaking down of so many things. I'm also just trusting that it is clearing the way for something greater, that we can build anew and actually build something that is sustainable and equitable and um, enlightened. I mean, I the term. I hear a lot about the apocalypse happening from various directions, and um, the term apocalypse actually refers to the lifting of the veil, not necessarily the end all of everything. But I mean, we talk about this a lot between the two of us, but that 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 transition, that transformation, transfiguration into something else, and the lifting of the veil, um, the lifting of illusions and the lie that's been governing us, and that we've been abiding by. And um, so yes, I definitely feel the shift happening in so many ways.
absolutely, absolutely. And so the reason I was so excited to have you on is because I do believe that that flow state can help usher in even maybe even more smoothly, if at all possible, at least for the individual, the transformation that's happening. And I have my own ideas as to why that might be, but I am curious, like your thoughts on it. But maybe before we even have you answer that, I, for the people who may not know what we're talking about, what is flow? And then what is creative flow? Is there a difference?
Great question. So the term flow or flow state was coined by the Hungarian psychologist. Let's see if I can get the pronunciation right on here. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. Sorry if I did not pronounce that right. But basically, it's that state of being so immersed and so engaged in a task or whatever it is that you're doing that there's this kind of there's a flow. I mean, it's a total immersion, connection and engagement in what you're doing. And oftentimes that's spoken of and measured in terms of like better productivity and all the ways we can like capitalize on it and be better workers, better this, better that. um, when I talk about flow and specifically about creative flow, um, those can be those can be great byproducts of it, but really it's about that embodied state. And actually, I would love to read my definition that I wrote in, here's my book, Creative Flow. Um, when I talk about creative flow, I mean this: the alchemical state of engaged curiosity, grounded presence, and liberated expression through which any sense of separation disappears. It's a state in which you can discover an interconnected unity with your own truest nature, a state of contented ecstasy and cosmic play for its own sake. It is the meeting place of life and eternity, the playground of the divine. That's
I
quite
love
a
that.
mouthful.
It,
But really it's that alchemy that happens when we are in that engaged state, and then the natural expression that springs forth from it, not to create a commodity of art, or this or that, but like creativity is our natural expression, that natural bubbling up when we are present, when we are tuned in and connected.
absolutely. It's that flow, that creative flow seems to take us outside of time, linear time. It drops us into the heart. And those are such a big part, I believe, of the things that are going to be furled out, unfurled, so to speak, for this next phase on the planet, on our planet. And
Mm,
I just love that. I love, love, love that. So
yeah.
I guess I want to get back to the that first original question, and now I don't even remember what it was, so maybe we won't.
Is there a shift happening?
No, no, yeah, there's a shift happening right now in my brain. No, um, I I'm wondering, for people who are listening right now, they're probably thinking, because we know that this happens, that if they're not an artist, they cannot get into this state. What do you say to that?
Mm. I say that again, we've been told a lie, we bought into a lie that there are artists and there are non-artists, and this kind of hierarchy of who is creative and who is not. And that is part of, I think, what we're moving into reclaiming, is that creativity is part of our life force energy and essence. It's similar to that, whether you like some religious traditions refer to it as like prana or chi, but that life force, it can be your sexual energy, but it is available. It is moving through and animating every single one of us. If we are alive, we are we are these living organisms of energy. And so create that is what creativity is. So it is not making a pretty picture that people say, oh, that looks just like that, and oh yes, I like that and I want to spend money on that. That is such a small, narrow, like pinhole definition of this absolutely brilliant life force energy that I'm talking about. So we have bought into this tiny, tiny definition and cut off so much of our potential because of it. Or we have projected it onto other people. Oh, that is an artist. I am not an artist. No, we are all creative beings. And even if you don't identify as a visual artist, your creative expression shows up in whatever it is that lights you up, whatever it is you do, whether it's raising a family or building a business or planting a garden. I mean, we talk about this all the time, Steph, in our, on our podcast and whatnot. But like, when humanity can tap into that unique spark, that thing that lights you up, like that is where everything is going to shift. that is where true power resides. And nobody can take that away from you.
Absolutely. And I believe, and I know you do too, but when you get into that creative space, the inherent space that is there for all of us and in all of us, that's we can tap into that wisdom. And that wisdom helps to guide what happens next, like you were talking about, like following the thread of what lights you up. And we do talk about that a lot because I feel like it's so vital right now. And the more people who can begin to practice, because it is a practice, I'm guessing you would agree with that. And if not, please let me know. But it is a practice. And once we start to learn what that feels like in our body, like things shift.
Right, right. It is a practice. We talk a lot about like flexing that muscle. And, for me, it's been a lifelong practice, really. I mean, there's so many layers. It's like the layers of the onion. There are so many layers to shed of all the internalized messages we get and the conditioning that we receive of trying to be a certain way, be perceived a certain way. It's like when we show up to this soul level energy that wants expression, it's like that's when all of those little voices, the voices of the inner critic, the voices of our conditioning can start to like seep in there and be like, oh, this isn't good enough, or I'm not good enough. All those things that it is a process. It is a process of noticing that and letting it go and keep doing what we're doing, keep doing what we're here to do. And that is, it's almost like working out. It's like training to really be able to engage with our creativity in that way. I believe it is a lifelong journey.
Absolutely. It's a lifestyle or a lifelong journey. Absolutely. What would you say to somebody who would say, well, I'm 52. I don't have a lifetime. I've never really engaged in my creativity. Why would I start now? What would you say?
I would say it is absolutely never too late. And if you don't believe me, look up Grandma Layton and all these. I mean, there are so many people in history that didn't even start practicing their craft or their art until they were in their 80s, 90s, whenever, like it is never too late. If you are breathing, then you are a creative being still. And, one of the things I talk about in the book is beginner's mind. It's learning how to play, learning how to approach something with that beginner's mind, that shoshin, that being an empty vessel, an empty cup, open to learning and exploring and not bringing preconceived ideas to it. We can do that at any point. We don't need to have experience. That is I believe that's one of the things that really keeps us young and vital is being able to approach anything with a beginner's mind at any age, regardless of experience or
Hmm.
not. Oh boy.
Yes.
I
Okay. We are experiencing some
Can you still see
technical.
me, Steph?
Yes, there is a little bit of a lag, but we're almost done. So we're just going to keep going,
Okay.
folks. And this is such a good interview. I'm just going to keep rolling with it. Um, so I will go ahead and ask the last question just because of the technical difficulties. But yes, this is it is a lifelong thing. And it's never too late to start. And even if you've never picked up a paintbrush or have any, just read Jenny's book, for God's sakes. I will say that because that explains so much and more. And visit creativenectarstudio.com too, because I mean, there's just so much there, as well as a community you can join. So, okay, past the shameless plugs, I will ask the last question. What is shifting for you, Jenny Hahn?
Oh my goodness. What is shifting for me? What is not shifting for me?
Right.
Um, I'll tell you what is shifting the most for me right now, because this has really been up, especially in the last, it feels like even more so in the last couple of weeks, couple months. And that is, let me back up by saying that, I was raised, I grew up as a perfectionist. I am the oldest daughter. There's a thing called eldest daughter syndrome. Okay, grew up to be a good girl, good grades, good daughter, take care of business, take care of things. Um, that has kind of been the backdrop my whole life, even in terms of my how am I going to be received? How is this appropriate? Da, 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 da. That measurement against like some invisible rules that aren't even real. So that I feel like lately that underlying, like always needing to measure against something is starting to just dissolve. And I, I don't know that I've ever before felt so aligned with what I am here to do. And there's a lot of questions in my mind, and I'm guessing for many of you viewers right now, oh my God, things are falling apart. What do I do? Like, yes, of course, protest, boycott, make the calls, make the emails. I've put in my time doom scrolling on my phone, but when I really tune in to myself, I know without a doubt that my life purpose is I am here to uplift, inspire, and help awaken myself and others through my art, through my writings, through my teachings, through whatever, through fill in the blank. But my purpose is to uplift and inspire and help awaken.
Mm.
Period. When I'm living in that, in alignment with that, it's almost like it doesn't even matter what happens. It doesn't matter if I die tomorrow. It doesn't matter if society collapses. I know why I'm here, and I will do that. I will live in alignment with that, and it doesn't matter the results. It doesn't matter if I save anyone. It doesn't matter if I become famous or not. It doesn't matter if people like what I do. I know I know what lights me up. I know when I'm in my creative flow, and that is my purpose for existing.
Mm. God, that was good. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And when we are in alignment with that, and I say, God, people probably get tired of hearing this, but just going to the grocery store is making a huge impact because we're this movable feast of enlightened, maybe not enlightened is not the right word, but like a lighthouse. And we're just like, scooting along as a lighthouse. And it does make an impact. And the more we tap into that through creative flow or, other means, but it's like the biggest thing. It's the biggest thing. And it feels so much better in your body.
Yes, yes. You're very present. It's like, yeah, that being, like you said, being that light, being lit up with what is true for you. And then meeting other beings from that place. It's like
Yeah.
and you're right, go into the grocery store because man, I got onto that kick of like ordering things online and free delivery and oh boy, but man, I have missed like the other day I went to a store and it's like, oh, those face-to-face connections and the things that can happen. It's like, oh, okay, yes, this is what's true. This is what's important.
Dude,
Yeah.
100%. I was moved to tears the other month at the grocery store, just looking right at a woman who I know felt invisible. She had to be probably close to 90 years old, in there by herself. And I just said, hello, because her head was down. I said hello. I met her there. She lit up, said hello, and I had to get out of there because I was like, I'm gonna cry. And I did. It was so beautiful. It was absolutely so beautiful.
uh,
So,
I
I
love
love this conversation. I want to have you back when we can resolve some of our technical difficulties because I just feel this is so important. Like this
Mm.
right here is so important, and you're so eloquent, um and Jenny's book just became an audiobook, folks. So I again, there's going to be links, but this has been a 9 month thing, like a whole birthing process for you. And I'm so excited that it's going to be out in a different form for other people to meet other people, maybe on their way to work or
Yeah.
whatever. So excited,
Yes.
excited. Um, thank you, Jenny.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for
Thank you,
hanging in
Steph.
there. Absolutely. And I'll see you next time. I'm just so glad that we had this conversation, and we'll see y'all next time.
Me too. Bye bye. Thank you.